Yo, what is good? Welcome to the zone, man. Y'all know what time it is. It's time to talk data analytics. It's Monday. Y'all know who we got on. It's Robert Vaughn, as always. The GOAT of the ghosts, the legends of the legends, the one with all the knowledge, the OG of the OGs, man.
Man, I'll pay you later, but you're gonna have to take a check.
Man, this is gonna be a dope topic. It was cool the first time we had this conversation, so I'm excited to like see where it goes on this one. I think a lot of people were really they really gained a lot of knowledge out of this, and I think it's going to be cool to hear where we take it in this one, and how it really, I guess, supersedes people's expectations. So thank y'all for watching on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, everywhere. That's everybody is everybody and everybody. We look forward to connecting with y'all. Make sure y'all tap into us on Instagram and all the rest of that. Drop your questions in the comments on the live stream and everywhere, whether you're on Twitch. Make sure you check us out at the Zone Media everywhere. Y'all know what it is. THAZONEMEDIA. If we get to, I think it was 100 subscribers, I am going to drop a free sample kit for all my producers out there. And who knows? I might drop the first YouTube video. Who knows? Well, not the first one because I technically have my own YouTube channel. But y'all know what it is. Make sure y'all get pot cracking. I'm gonna turn it over to the legend himself, Robert Vaughn.
You're too kind once again, man. Well, hey, glad to be back. And we a couple of weeks ago we had talked about data analytics, and we had a lot of interest. We got quite a few emails and people wanting to know a little bit more about it. So what we're doing today is we're gonna sort of rehash real quick what we went over, and then we're gonna make it relevant to the individual and tell you how you can use data analytics to move you forward in your music career or any other business. The thing about data analytics, it's good for everything, but particularly in music, it's really sort of got a foothold now, and that's just part of the new business model. Well, again, data analytics is the science of analyzing raw data in order to make conclusions. And what that means is that we look at different things. For instance, with Instagram, numbers of photos posted, comments, likes, hearts, and there's quite a few metrics, and those are called metrics. There are quite a few metrics with all your social media that can tell you exactly what's going on. For instance, if you say, well, you know what, I'm gonna spend $500 in advertise on the radio, or I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that, and you don't really know how effective it was until you actually pull some of the data and analyze it. And that's what data analytics is. It's a lot of times when you do something, you advertise, you boost something on Facebook, you do something in IG or YouTube, and somebody says, "Oh yeah, I think that really worked because your views are up or this or that." Well, you don't know really if it worked or not, But with data analytics, when you track your data analytics, you can tell what works, what doesn't work, and how effective it is.
Right.
And
I think I think the other thing too, like there's a few different softwares that people use, specifically talking to YouTube, and this is talking to the office, to not the offices, but the people that are um, doing, like, I know a lot of producers are on here, so with them, like vidIQ is a big one. You know what I'm saying? Like even if you're not a producer, vidIQ and TubeBuddy, like those two will help you out gain your analytics on YouTube. And I think a lot of people miss that, and it helps us. It helps us to do what you said, and that's to gain the understanding of who's watching, where are we really thriving at, and then what is really doing the biggest numbers. Like we talk about keywords, we talk about the big hashtags and stuff like that. So I think that's super cool. Like there's the vidIQ, TubeBuddy. There's a few other ones, but those are like the top two that I use personally, and it's been giving me the notion. So that's super dope with the, yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, those are two great ones, and there a lot of social media has their own data analytics, but you can also there are companies and programs available that kind of consolidates everything for you, and you can kind of see where you're at in real time in terms of the effectiveness of different things that you do, and that's really important because what you'll find is that when you do certain things work and certain things don't, and rather than just guess, you can find out exactly for sure what works, who you're reaching, and what sort of return you're getting on the money you spend. um you know you always spend $10 to make 1,000, but if you're spending 1,000 and you get no return, and you don't really know, you don't even know why you're not getting a return. That's what data analytics do. Probably some of the top platforms nowadays would be, of course, TikTok. TikTok is probably one of the most effective platforms in terms of being able to see exactly what you're doing, where you're doing it, uh, who's listening, who's watching, how engaged they are, so on and so forth. Also, Spotify. Spotify is probably has some of the best analytics available, and also Instagram. And in turn, I would add YouTube to that. YouTube is a little different. YouTube is probably the most broad based video platform, and with analytics that you can actually see. And YouTube can give you some great analytics because, the thing about data is you want to find out who you're reaching, and you also want to find out who you're not reaching. And when you dig a little deeper, you might find that, in a certain country, certain things vibe more than certain other things. You
So,
know,
question:
Mhm.
how do you use? So when you do YouTube analytics, do you pull it straight from YouTube, or are you pulling it from like Google Analytics, or are you grabbing it from a third party? Because I know that's a lot of people's like biggest struggle. It's like, where do I start with
Where you
analytics?
start?
I pull it
Well,
straight from.
initially, where you start, you want to pull it straight from YouTube to
Mm,
begin with, because that's going to let you know who your fans are.
yeah,
It's going to let you know where they are, what things seem to work. For instance, I have a neo soul artist, Versi Jean. She was on the show last week, who I work with. She's from Portland, and what we found is that when we do lyric videos, for some reason in South America, particularly in Venezuela, they just go numbers just go through the roof.
wow,
And if anybody ever told me that a neo soul artist from the U.S. would be really popular in Venezuela, I wouldn't have believed it. But
right,
that's what the things that data tells you. So we know to reach that market, for some reason, lyric videos are really effective. Now, I haven't found out why, and I guess you could dig a little deeper and you'll find out why. But see, what it tells you is that, if we, um, in that part of the world, lyric videos,
data tells you.
YouTube work very well in terms of reaching her audience there. Now, in certain other countries, certain other areas, she vibes in the UK too.
Mm,
And in the UK, what we found is that Spotify is much more effective. For some reason, Spotify is much more effective in the UK and Europe than it is here in the US, for her particular brand of music. And see, those are the type of things that you find out with data. Um, Also, Instagram is probably, I'd say, TikTok and then Instagram. Instagram is extremely important because you can have so many different data points with Instagram, so many different metrics that you can use. For instance, with Instagram, in order to access data on Instagram, you have to convert to a business account, which is pretty simple. You just go to settings and click you on a business account. and that gives you access to data. For instance, they have different metrics such as reach, which is the actual number of people that seen your posts, and also a reach rate is the number of people who've seen your post divided by the number of your followers. And what this tells you is how many people you
What did you say that was
converting.
again?
Yeah, the reach rate is the number of people who actually seen your post divided by the number of followers.
Hey, I hope
So
y'all
if
getting y'all notebooks. Y'all better get y'all notebooks, y'all pen and paper. He
well,
dropping some
see what
gems.
this tells you is how many people are you converting, from somebody that just heard your music to somebody that's a follower who really likes your music. And see that's really important because once somebody follows you, they're going to get all your music. And what you want to do is you want to see that ratio of followers to people who just sing your music. I mean, just heard your music. You want that to be high because you want to convert people to your fans. Followers or fans. And it's a percentage. Also, impressions, and I'll just go through these real quick, but Instagram has some great ones because they have so many that you can access without actually going through a third party. Impressions, um, you know, it's a number of times your post has been viewed during a selected period of time. Um, the same post can be seen several times, and sometimes a person will look at it several times. And so your impressions are very important because one thing that tells you um, if one person, for instance, has seen your post 3 times, that will be counted as one reach and 3 impressions. So that's why reach is so important because that tells you. I know when I hear a song I like, I might check it out 2 or 3 times if I see a post. And what that means is that I really like it. If you
Right.
listen to something, you don't something that you really like, you don't listen to just once. You listen to it 2 or 3 times, and that's why that reach is important. And then you have your engagement rates. That's all your likes and comments and saves divided by the number of followers. And what that tells you is that um, people that are engaged with your music are people that will probably buy tickets to your concert and people that may buy your merch. So those are those are your fans, your hardcore fans.
So how would you say like an artist or a producer or somebody can really um capitalize on that, because I know a lot of people have a lot of likes or engagement, their engagement for like to view is like huge, but then they have like a little amount of comments or they don't really have to sell. So how do you think what advice could you give to somebody to actually capitalize on those things?
Well, you have to. It's kind of like in sales. You have you have to engage the people. You know, you these are prospects. And you want to engage them and make them fans. So you may say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this song. What songs do you guys like? And because you know who these people are, so you can reach them. Um, you know, um, Sometimes you have a lot of followers, but you don't have a lot of engagement. So what you want to do is you want to have more engagement as a percentage of your followers. Because when people are engaged, those are people that will spend money on your music. Followers don't always spend money on your music. If people are engaged, are people, like I said, that will come to concerts, and you can find out who these people are, and you reach out to them, and you post things, maybe they're on Twitter too, and maybe they're probably on Facebook too, and you have third party software that can tell you, well, these people are on 4 of your platforms and are engaged with you and follow you. So
Mm.
those are your fans and your super fans. Um, and next, you want to look at your followers growth, and I'll kind of go through these. Followers growth is how fast you're gaining followers in terms of how fast you're losing followers. Because a
I
lot
think
of
that's
times
the one a lot of people miss.
yeah.
Yeah,
And see, this is so important because, I see people go, oh, like I had 85,000 people on Twitter 6 months ago, but now I'm down to 22,000, you know, and, that's because you're losing more people than you're gaining. So you have to continue, you have to pay attention to your growth.
yeah,
And the way you do that is with data analytics. If you see that number starts to move, if you see you're losing more than you're gaining, then you need to tweak some things or do some things to help you gain more followers. Maybe that means posting more. Maybe that means looking at the analytics and determining which of your songs, which type of songs that you do are getting more followers. And maybe you do more of those songs, and maybe you look at YouTube and you say, wow, I'm really vibing in Texas and Arizona. So, but I'm losing a lot of followers in Illinois. So maybe you focus a little bit more in Texas and Arizona and try to get those numbers up, and maybe you try to stop the bleeding in Illinois. But
right.
and data analytics is like kind of boring
Mhm.
to a lot of people, but companies have whole departments. This is what they do.
No, absolutely, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's why a lot of like artists and producers really fail because it's like, man, like when like how do you expect to, you know what I'm saying, really do it if you don't actually put the work towards it, you know?
Well, data analytics is really it's been used in political campaigns. I'll just kind of make this comment as an aside, but um, Obama won twice because of data analytics. A lot of people on his campaign staff, his analytics staff, were people from Google, and Google invented data analytics. And I remember he made a comment once. He said, he was giving a address, the State of the Nation address, and he said something. He said, yeah, he said, I won twice, and he said if I ran again, I'd win again. And the reason he made that statement is because he knew exactly um, where his voters were, who was inclined to vote for him, who wasn't going to vote for him, who could maybe be convinced into voting for him, and where they were. And he took it to another level, and he used um, not just data, but email. He reached out to people by email, and he also reached out to people by text. So he would constantly be in touch with people. But what it did was the data told him where he should focus his efforts and his money. And a lot of times people weren't as micro targeted. And see, the same concept is used in music, where you want to micro target who your fans are, and that's what data helps you do, because he knew exactly who was going to vote for him, who wasn't. And if you were predisposed to vote for him, you might have got 6 or 7 calls on election day. Hey, did you vote yet? Did you vote yet? Did you vote yet? And it worked because like you said, he got elected twice, and people didn't think he should have been. And
Right.
he made a statement. I could get elected again. He probably could have. But now the cat's out of the bag, and everybody else uses data. But same thing. With music, you got to know, you got to micro target your fans, and you got to know where they are and who they are, where they live, and what's important to them. You know,
So do you feel like, I know this might be all the way left field, you feel like that's how Trump got elected?
yeah, that's how Trump got elected with Cambridge Analytica. They used data, but they used surveillance data to move people. Because see, with surveillance data, you can move people in one direction or the other. That's just like if you ever want to try an experiment, on Facebook, because they all use data. If you go on Facebook and say, "Oh man, I really like Elvis Presley, man. I think Elvis Presley is dope," and
Elvis
and,
Presley. All
and
right.
see how many things related to Elvis Presley start showing up on in your Gmail. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it even goes to a different level, where sometimes you don't even have to put it in, because you know um, a lot of things that you say, and this is not something I'm making up. These are facts. A lot of things that you say around phones, the TV. If you have a Samsung TV, it's a smart TV. It listens to you. Your phone. If you have an iPhone, it always listens to you. And so when you say things, and this is part of the data collection. This is part of what's called surveillance capitalism, and this is another it's a whole nother area of data collection. But what they do is they can tell a lot of things by data. They can tell what you're predisposed to do, what you're predisposed to buy, and what kind of will move you one way or the other. For instance, if there was an example of a young lady, for instance, they know that females sometimes when they become pregnant, they become very sensitive to fragrances. And there was a story in Google where this young lady didn't know she was pregnant, but because she used to order a certain type of shampoo with fragrances, and all of a sudden she stopped ordering. She got start getting fragrance-free shampoo. They made the assumption that she was pregnant, and they started sending her dad ads about baby clothes. And her mom and dad ads about baby. This is a true story. You can look it up about baby clothes. And they said, "Well, no, we don't have anybody pregnant in the family." And they asked her, and she said, "No, I'm not pregnant." And then she checked, and she, in fact, was pregnant. So,
Wow.
see, data is really, uh,
I
you
be
know,
wondering how I get like all these different like spams or like when I'm on YouTube or I'm Googling something. I wonder how like ads come up on different websites. Like it's because of that, right?
oh yeah, yeah. It's because a lot of devices. Listen, if you got a Nest thermostat, it's got a microphone in it, and it's and we could spend a whole year on talking about that. But
Which that makes a lot of sense too, because this is why I think it's important, which I think it goes hand in hand. Like which I think this is something that we should definitely touch base on is metadata,
mhm.
because I think that's how a lot of people are missing out on their money when it comes to like music and
Oh,
all of that.
yeah, they are because you can use metadata and data analytics. You can use it to benefit yourself,
Right?
and make some money. And if you don't think it works, you just look at Google, Facebook, and Amazon, and it's probably three of the richest guys in the world using data, data analytics and you know data in a way. They use information and sell information to make money. Information they get from you and I, and they're actually able to, for instance, if they know that your wife's birthday is Saturday, and they know that she on your home computer looked at this black leather jacket 16 times in the last week, and they know that you really want to impress her on her birthday, well, you may start getting the coupons for this jacket, and you may say, we'll give you 50% off, but it's only going to be on Friday evening. And they do this a lot. And you may inquire about the black jacket at the store or something. They say, as a matter of fact, if you come in today, we'll give you another $25 off. And see, because of the data that exists, they know that there's a high probability that you'll buy that jacket. Yeah, so that's just another example. But back to music.
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
just something that I definitely always wondered.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. It's called surveillance capitalism, is what it is.
Wow.
Is
Okay.
taking getting information and selling it to people and being able to move people in certain directions. I'll tell you a famous experiment real quick, and then we'll get back. I don't know if you remember Pokemon Go.
I do remember Pokemon Go.
Yeah, Pokemon Go was an experiment done by Google. It was actually a program that the CIA started. It's called Footfall.
The
Uh,
CIA started that.
yeah, yes, called Footfall, and it was
Okay.
how you can kind of move people in certain directions. So CIA said, "Oh, it's nothing to it." Google said, "Okay." So Footfall was an experiment. Pokemon Go was kind of like a front for Footfall, and what it was is that they surveillance capitalism and data analytics and metadata. They said not only can we tell you who's predisposed to buy your products, They said we can actually deliver them to your store. And that's what Pokemon Go was, and they collected a lot of experimental data of how to make people go this way or make them go that way, and the thing was Pokemon Go, but really the purpose of the experiment was to find out how you can make people show up at your door.
That's great.
If you're a store, it's not like you can tell a story. Well, if you advertise with us, not only can we, you know, uh,
Right.
send things out to people, coupons, we can actually make the people show up at your door on Friday for the big
Right.
sale, and so that's what that's what metadata was able to do, and
That's
that's
great.
what Pokemon Go was, and it was very successful. And so that brings us back to music. So with data, how you can use data in music is you can make everybody show up at your site, or everybody show up at your show, or everybody show up, you know,
Right.
when you're performing or when you're on TV. And so that's how data has certain a sort of metadata and data analytics has sort of been beneficial to business persons and the owners in the music industry. And it's good, to understand this if you're an artist, because this is how you're going to make money. For instance, one of the latest things, and this has been going on probably 4, 5, maybe 6 years. But what they do now, particularly with TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, they can analyze data. Music labels have whole departments that's all they do is analyze data. But what they do, I know, in the old days it used to be who you knew. You say, well, I can get you in to see L.A. Reid, or I know, Sylvia Rome. I know this person. I know that person. But now it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And the reason they get to find out about you is because of data analytics. And what they do is, they have departments that analyze data from TikTok, from Spotify, from Instagram, from Facebook, from various social media, from Twitter, and they look at it and they can actually project who's going to be a big star and who's not. That's how Lil Nas X was discovered. Logic, Trippy Red. Let me see who else. Who? Lizzo. Um,
Wait, Trippy Red got broke from this?
yeah, he got. Well, they identified him as somebody that's going to be a big star, and the reason they can say that is because they looked at his data and they compared it to maybe Drake when he was coming up, or say Beyonce when she was. And they say, well, there's certain things that they have in common.
Right.
One of the things that's really important is Shazam. You know,
So
the Shazam rate is very important, because if somebody Shazams your song, they have to go through like 4 different operations. They have
right.
to hear the song, they have to
Mm.
pull out their phone, they have to go to open Shazam, and then they have to Shazam it. And if they'll go through 4 steps to find out who did that music, there's like a greater than a 72% chance that they'll buy that song.
That actually makes sense. That
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. So when they look at, say Lil Nas X, they looked at his Shazam rate, not just how many people were Shazamming him, but how fast that rate of him getting Shazam was increasing.
Right.
And when you reach a certain point, combined with other data that may be his Instagram,
Oh,
his Instagram likes were off the chart, and there's you take groups of data and say, well, if these 87 things are true, then they're probably going to be a huge star.
so what would you say, like, what would you say to the artists, or the artist producers, YouTubers that are listening? Um, how would you say they can break the algorithm? Not even break the algorithm, but what would be your advice to really like fight the algorithm that is
To take
currently?
advantage of it.
Yeah.
Okay. My advice would be to get with somebody who understands data analytics, study it yourself so that you can understand it,
Mhm.
and try to make, data analytics, data is used to make educated decisions. For instance, if you're trying to break now, you really need to be on TikTok. You need to get a pro account at TikTok. You have to apply and get a pro account. You need to be on Spotify. You have to apply to Spotify Analytics, and most of the time you get approved. Sometimes you won't, but you want access to their, because Spotify is way ahead of everybody else in terms of data analytics. Spotify, is one of the Spotify, Shazam and TikTok. Those are probably the main three in terms of data analytics. But you want to get on Spotify. You want to look at your analytics. You want to see, where you're vibing at, where you're not vibing at, who's listening to your music. And then you want to start, marketing to that audience. Maybe when you do a Facebook post and you find out that, females from the age of 26 to 34 that live in the Northeast really love your music. So that's who you want to advertise to, you know. But I would, get read up, learn something, learn about data analytics. If you don't have time, get somebody that knows what they're doing. Get a pro account at TikTok. Get apply to Spotify Analytics. Instagram, you have to convert your account to a business account, which just means that you have access to the analytics. And then there are third party analytics. Pandora is a major player. Pandora acquired a company called Next Big Sound. And what Next Big Sound does is Next Big Sound is sort of takes a look at all the different social media platforms and all the different algorithms, and they're pretty good at projecting, who's going to be a big star. And Spotify, I mean, yes, Pandora does like Spotify. What they'll do is they have what's called song vectors, and song vectors mean that there's a portion of Azaria's fans that also like Chance the Rapper, and that also like, say, Drake. And so what data analytics would do, what Spotify does, is say, well, what is it about Azaria's music that Chance's fans and Drake's fans like? And there might be 20 or 30% of those fans that like the fact that you have some dope lyrics. So what you do is you make music with dope lyrics, and you find out, you make more, you kind of focus more on your lyrics, and then maybe you get on a Spotify, what do you call it, a chart with Drake, and you get on something with Chance, and then you pick up some of their fans, and they maybe pick up some of your fans, but obviously it'd be more advantageous for you to pick up some of their fans. And what happens is you look at a lot of different, for instance, it might be that a lot of your fans are somebody else's fans, so maybe that's somebody you want to collab with, because the same thing they like about their music they like about your music. And that's what Spotify does in a lot of their their charts, and their when they group artists together. um, for instance, they say, well, the artists that like this music also like this music and this music and this music. And they'll tell you, well, if you like Azaria, then you probably also like Drake, and you also like Chance.
Right.
So when they listen to your music, they'll probably hit up Chance, hit up Drake. And they'll say the same thing. If you like this song by Chance, well, you'll probably love Azarius. And so that's how Spotify uses it. And they, I mean, it's really a science. I mean, they developed it into a science, and it works. Because
Yeah.
they're able to project people who are going to be big before they actually are. And they use it in country music. They use it in all kinds of music. This is just what they do.
Right.
And as an indie artist, you can do the same thing a label does, but you just have to understand what they're doing, and understand the data.
That makes sense. That makes complete sense. That's super dope.
Yeah. Well, and for instance, so Shazam has charts, And when you have access to their charts, you can get localized charts, and you can see who, what big stars, fans, percentage of their fans like your music.
Mm-hmm.
And you can also see not why they like your music, but why they like your music. It might be something simple like, well, Azaria has an 808 in all of his hooks or something,
Right.
and so does Drake, or so does so and so. And see, that's good information for you to know, because you might not, your next song might not have an 808 in it, and then you might say, well, maybe I'll put an 808 in it, and then maybe I'll see if I can get on one of Chance's songs with him, and thereby steal some of his fans or get some of his fans. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how, that's how you build a fan base. It's not just, you know people that just like hip hop, or people that just like country, but certain metadata about certain hip hop songs that people like,
Mm-hmm.
and that metadata may be common to a lot of different artists. And so once you find that out, then you can maybe, that's why you see a lot of artists um, that'll collab with each other, because they know that, a large portion of my fans are your fans, but there's a lot of your fans that aren't my fans. So we collab, maybe I can get some of those fans that aren't my fans. And
Right.
that's what's so good about collabing. But you just don't want to collab with anybody. You want to look at this data, so when you collab with somebody, you know that there's going to be a net gain for you, for
Right.
collab. Um, Also, Pandora has a company. They acquired a company called Next Big Sound,
They've
and
acquired now what?
it's called Next Big Sound.
Next big
And what Next Big Sound does is they analyze data, and they'll analyze data from all different social media platforms. So, you reach out to Next Big Sound, and they say, okay, we'll help you out, and this is what it costs, you
Yeah.
know, and that's why certain, if you certain stations, like when you go to Pandora and you say, I want to listen to Alicia Keys. Well,
Mm.
usually when you listen to Alicia Keys, and there are certain other female artists that pop up on her station,
Right.
and what that means is that, the what they call the song vectors, or the percentage of fans that belong to each one of those artists, have something in common. And they've looked at the data. They don't just arbitrarily say, "Oh, I'm going to put a Azaria song with, you know, so and so." There's a method to the madness, and what it does, there's a mutual benefit to you and the other person. And like I said, they data is so valuable at predicting uh, success in the music business, that you can use data and go to a bank, or to a label, or to a publishing company, and you can get money. Because say, for instance, if you do the numbers there is there, and you figure, well, it's going to take about 1.8 mil to really break me, where I can start making money. That's what it's going to take. The promotion and the radio and all that stuff. It's going to be all close to $2 million. And you go to the label or the bank, and they're going to say, well, why the hell should we give you $2 million? And then you pull out your data and say, this is why. And they look at the data, and they say, okay, we can this makes sense, because you can say, well, when Beyonce was at this level, this is what her data looked like, and these are some of the things that we have in common with her. When so and so was here, we have something in common with him,
Right.
and there's certain similarities that let them know that people that have these certain things in common go on to be big stars. So they don't have to wait on you to be a big star. They can jump in the game early and identify you, like they did Logic and Lil Nas, and Khalid. Khalid was one of the, I won't say one of the first ones, because they did it with Drake too.
What
and
about did they do it with which everybody says I look like Brent? What's his name? Brent Fayez or something like that.
Yeah, they deal with all of them, man. I mean, I remember when Khalid, before he hit it big, he was on a show. It was so crazy. I said, "Well, this is a guy you haven't heard of, Khalid." He was in Billboard, and he was on a show, and he said he's going to be a big star. I'm saying, well, damn, he hadn't even have a record out yet. How did they know this?
Right.
They knew it because of the data analytics, and they were just prepping you for what was about to come.
Yeah.
And that's how they knew it. I remember that with Drake too. I think Drake got an award before he even had a whole lot of music out, and they kind of know, they can tell because, uh, that's what the data tells them. And one thing about having a career is that a lot of good artists out there, a lot of good management, but if you can't get that early money is so important because that's kind of what gets you over the hump, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that early money kind of gets you over the hump. And when Billy Ray Cyrus, why do you think him and Lil Nas X did a song together?
Right. To boost the numbers.
To boom the numbers, because they said, well, if we get Billy Ray Cyrus on this, we can get this country. That was the biggest. Song spent more time at the top of the country chart than any other country song in history.
All right.
And they said, well, we can do this and we can get that and make a little hip hop and blah, blah, blah. And they looked at the data. They said, we need to get these two guys together and this needs to be the song. And they were able to see that before it actually happened. And
Right.
that's sort of how it came to be, you know. Yeah, that's sort of how it came to be. And it was very, that early money got them over the hump, you know,
Mhm.
and that's what happens. And like I said about Shazam, with Shazam data, they have charts and they have localized charts that tell you, what's going on and what you're doing that's not working and what you're doing that is working. So what you can do is focus, particularly with your money, on what's working and leave what's not working alone.
Right.
Because I think one of the things that happens in the music business, people spend a lot of money. They throw a lot of money away because they're trying to figure out, well, what if I do this? What if I do this? Let's try doing this. Let's try doing that. And then 200 or 300 grand later, the money man says, okay, time out. That's it. We've done this. We haven't seen any,
Any progress.
progress. So we're cutting this money off. You need to bring us some numbers and blah, blah, blah. But with data analytics, the first thing you want to do is you want to get with someone who does analytics, like Next Big Sound. You know what
Right. Right. Right.
I'm saying? Yeah. Uh, Shazam wasn't acquired by Apple Music for no reason, believe me.
Right.
And
Makes sense.
Next Big Sound wasn't acquired by Pandora for no reason,
For no reason. Right.
because they understand the analytics, they develop the algorithms, they develop algorithms that work for you.
So,
Mm-hmm.
so I definitely think, uh, I feel like you got a lot more information to share, and I feel like we need to do a part three.
Well, there's a lot more, and what I want to do, I think in part three, what we're going to talk about is we want to have some things that are pertinent to the musician,
Mm.
because people say, well, that's all well and good, but how's that going to help me out?
Yeah,
And
and I think you
I
you
think that's
started
what's
it.
important there. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely started it on this one because you talked specifically about, hey, like this is what happens in metadata, this is what happens with your analytics with Spotify, with YouTube, like that's where we go towards.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, diving a little bit deeper, like talking a little bit deeper about metadata, because
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of artists think, why hasn't my song charted? Why can't I see my song charts? Well, a lot of, like, I talk to a lot of people, and they're like, man, their songs don't chart because they don't have their metadata. Like none of your information is in the system. So how do they actually check it? You know what I'm
But they
saying?
don't. What it is you don't understand who your fans are and where
Right.
they are.
Right.
And to get your song charting on Billboard, you have to get record sales. And
Right.
the way you get record sales is you find out who your fans are, where they live, and what they like about your music. And then you kind of focus on that and you'll see the numbers move.
Right.
TikTok, like I said, TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, you know,
Yeah.
um, Shazam, you know, that's
Right.
where you want to focus.
For
And
real.
there's some companies that will do this for you for a fee. And I think next time we'll talk about some of those,
That's good.
and kind of go from there.
That's good. Well, any last things you want to say to the people?
In God we trust, all others bring data. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
Because that's not what I think happened or what you think happened or didn't happen, that's the real world. And
Yeah,
data tells you what's really happening. And that's
yeah,
important. You have to be honest with yourself and you have to kind of, know what's really going on if you want to move forward. You
absolutely,
know. Yeah.
absolutely. Man,
Okay.
can you again just let people know where they can reach you? Y'all know where to catch you at every Monday at 7 p.m. Let's
Mhm.
talk music business with Robert Vaughn.
Instagram, Russell Ent Group 1, RussellEntGroup1. And I can be reached there. And also RussellEntGroup at gmail.com. But we will do part three. And in part three, we'll talk about some of the specific companies that you can reach out to and some of the specific things that you can do in
Mm-hmm.
terms of finding out, who your fans are. But you can start with going to YouTube and looking at your analytics, going to TikTok, Spotify, Instagram, and looking at your analytics. And once you get the information, then you can take the next step of finding out what to do with it.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll talk about next time. Is once you have this information, what do you do with it, and you know, how do you turn it into some success?
Oh, that's definitely dope.
Yep.
Thank
So,
you. We definitely
all
appreciate it.
right, for sure. Yep.
Always, y'all know where to check us out at the Zone Media. If y'all want to get on the show, we got a few shows coming up this week. It's definitely gonna be a dope week. Dope week. We back in the swing of things. We got um Tuesday, I think we got a cook up with pizza party. That's gonna be really cool. Wednesday we got Mike Chancey. I know it's always dope having bro on, and he's gonna be talking with one of his artists, Nisha Beats, who's dropping something on June 5th. So we're gonna get the chance to really chop it up with him a little bit. Thursday we back in the swing with in the mix with Shy Hits, about to break down one of his records he mixed with. He got some records. He just got a record with Benny Siegel. He just got a record um with King Chip. He got a few records. I think he got a record with Black that he mixed. So it's definitely going to be good to hear what song he breaks down this week. And then Friday is going to be artist spotlight and producer spotlight. Don't ask me who's going to be on there yet. If you would like to be spotlighted, definitely hit us up, thezonemedia@gmail.com. And then y'all know we back with the fix this Saturday, and then Sunday is Sunday review. Y'all know what it is. So make sure you stay connected. Remember to always collaborate because collaboration thrives creativity, and create because you're created by the creator.